Welcome back to the 2014 World Series of Poker main event final table telecast presented by Gentleman Jack. We're down to just 5 players. Jorrit van Oof has a commanding chip lead, holding more than half the chips in play. We are inside the Penn and Teller Theater at the Rio. Our perch is above the final table. I'm Kara Scott, joined by Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth. Too many accolades to list for these two, plus at least one of them has a big enough ego already. I'm not going to say who. Now, the last level was not a great one for Will Tonking, but Jorrit has gone even farther ahead into the chip lead. So what are your impressions of the players so far this level?
Well, I mean, obviously I got to be impressed with van Oof. His timing has been impeccable. Every move he's made has worked. He's been selectively aggressive, and I thought it was really important earlier. They talked about him having a mental coach. I'm a big believer in doing whatever it takes to be ahead of the curve, and it shows in terms of his patience and his poise at the table. He just looks like he's destined to win.
Yeah, he looks really comfortable out there. What do you think, Phil?
He really does, and I think that Antonio is doing cartwheels back there because Antonio always preaches aggression, 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 raise, re-raise, and pick up the chips. Great way to play. It doesn't always work, but van Oof, it's working perfectly for. His timing's perfect. His reads are good. It's impressive.
It is, and it's really hard to play against when you have such a big chip leader at the table, especially if he is directly to your left. So let's take a look at a hand where he's using his chip stack and a bit of pressure, and I want you to talk me through this.
Well, here, I don't like here what Felix is doing. You're up against the chip leader. That's akin to me like driving the lane against the Kemi Mutombo, right? And I'm just going to get the finger wag. No. And in this hand, you're going to see a finger wag, right? Because he's calling with the King 10, of course. Flop nothing, but he can represent this board so easily because he could have anything. Now, what I really like about the way he played this hand is that he got called. Ace came on the turn, and he bet big at it, knowing that it's very unlikely his opponent's calling with like Ace 10 or Ace Queen or something like that because it's such a scary board. So for him to just fire that bullet once again, like I said, his timing is impeccable, using his position and aggression. And again, if I'm Stevenson, I'm not going to try to mess with the big stack. You got to bow and be like, okay, you got the chips, I'll be a good boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Stevenson, I mean, come on. You're going to open up for 3x raise? Like, I mean, you understand the blinds are 800,000 as a big blind. He opened for 2.4 million. No one's done that all day. So that can mean one of two things, either really strong or really weak. And now he flopped and opened it at straight draw, did Stevenson. It came 5, 7, 8. What were you looking for when you raised with the 10, 6 of clubs? Bet it. He bets it. He wins it. Everything changes. But the check opened the door for van Oof to make one more spectacular play.
Okay, let's look at another hand by van Oof. Now, in this one, he has aggression, and he hits a really pretty card as well on the river.
Yeah, he really did. Now, I mean, before the flop, van Oof raised, and Tonking called. Now, Tonking bets this flop on an 8-9-6 board. I love his bet. The turn is a 10, which pretty much freezes both players. I mean, yeah, okay, Tonking could have made some kind of genius bet. On the river, a 9 pops off. And Tonking has the presence of mind to check this. And then van Oof made, one of his very few mistakes I've seen him make. He bet way too much. Bet 2 or 3 million, get the hand paid off. And but van Oof has just been playing perfectly. And, of course, he's hit a lot of cards.
He has agreement on the bet sizing comment?
Well, no, that was actually the one thing I wanted to mention is, and again, I don't know the context of what he's trying to accomplish, so you always have to look at that. You look at one hand in a vacuum and you think, oh, bet too much. This could be part of a bigger picture strategy that he's looking to do, but I agree, it doesn't look like he's going to get called by much. So, I'm thinking 3.6 million, maybe like 4 million instead of going for the big one, because it just doesn't look like you're ever going to get called there.
We're never going to have perfect agreement here on the table. If you're looking for that, you're not going to find it. Now, we've got a lot more for you after the break, including a look back at the 25th anniversary of a pretty big event in the poker world. I know someone at this desk remembers it well. Welcome back to the World Series of Poker main event final table. 25 years ago in downtown Las Vegas, Phil Hellmuth began to make his name in the poker world with a shocking main event win over two-time defending champion Johnny Chan.
Phil Hellmuth, 24 years old, going against the two-time defending champion Johnny Chan. Hellmuth says, hey, I'm all in. And Chan says, okay, we're here to gamble. Let's get it on. And there it is. Hellmuth wins the championship. So Phil gets the money, the gold bracelet. But perhaps best of all, he has the knowledge that he beat one of the all-time greats, Johnny Chan.
I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just watching that, and I remember that was in May of 1989, and in 1987, I decided in April, I remember a very key day for me, where I said, listen, if you're going to be a professional poker player, I want to be the best poker player in the world. Wrote a goal sheet that day. The #1 goal was to win the 1989 main event. And so won that check. My dad was there for the first time to watch me play. Double check.
Do you have anything on your list right now?
Yeah, there's a few more things. I mean,
Okay.
I'd like to get to 24 bracelets,
Of course.
maybe 30, but
Okay.
We'll see.
You know, low ball.
Yeah.
It's a low ball number. So what were you doing 25 years ago? Were you watching him? No, you were in junior high, I think.
No, but I really was. I actually started
okay.
playing poker right around that age, and we found these tapes, these World Series tapes. I'm from Toronto, obviously, and me and my friends would watch it, and we saw Phil Hellmuth Jr. and against Johnny Chan, the master, if you will. So it was really, really cool. Like, they were icons at the time for us, and you know, I wasn't even old enough to
Yeah,
come to Vegas yet.
it was on this fledgling little network called ESPN. Yeah.
Well, it must have been an amazing moment, and truly, you looked incredibly young in that video. Now we've built you up, and it's time to, I'm so sorry, tear you down just a little bit, or at least it's time for Daniel to do so. Let's critique one of your tweets.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to be bringing this up. Yep.
All right, how about this one? Hello, Las Vegas. Staying at my favorite hotel, the $1.2 billion Aria LV.
Great hotel.
Now, at one of the best golf courses in the world, Shadow Creek. Hashtag, get this, hashtag PH Nice Life.
I do have a nice life, and I can't help it. You know, the Aria is a beautiful, amazing hotel that I like to stay at.
So you don't find that hashtag, like, slightly obnoxious? I mean, you wrote it, right? But, I mean, a little.
I'm trying to be inspirational, aspirational.
Nice life. Yeah, it's
Let me
great
wipe
to
the
be
dirt
me.
off my shoulders.
Maybe one day you'll have the
Daniel,
opportunity.
You got me. You got me this time.
Okay, one fun note before we go. You know, it's possible that this year's champion wasn't even born when Phil Hellmuth won his main event title. Think about that.
You had to go there?
That will do for us for now. Another 2-hour level of poker comes your way right after this commercial break. A huge $10 million payday, and the bracelet is on the line.
This main event final table telecast from the 2014 World Series of Poker is presented by Gentleman Jack. Scott Seaver congratulating Felix Stevenson for a recent double up from the Penn and Teller Theater in Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome back. We are still five-handed. I'm Lon McCarron with Norman Chad and Antonio Esfandiari. And you take a look at our summary so far. Mark Newhouse, yeah, the same Mark Newhouse that finished 9th last year, 9th this year. Bruno Politano, Dan Sindelar, and Donny Larabe all eliminated after him. Billy Pappas into 2nd place right now. Chip leader Jorrit van Hof right there from the Netherlands with over half the chips in play, sitting with almost 109 million chips right now. My buddy here, Norman Chad, says, hey, this one ain't over, right?
No, it ain't over. He's got more than half the chips in play, but things change in a heartbeat in No Limit. Van Hof trying to become the first Netherlands player ever to win the main event. Jacobson could become the first from Sweden to win the main event. Stevenson could become the first from Norway to win the main event.
During the break, Phil Hellmuth talking about Van Hof, and it was hard-pressed to find anything wrong with Jorrit's game so far, right, Antonio?
No, I mean, he's playing absolutely lights out. His reads are dead on. The guy's on another level tonight.
By the way, during the break, they celebrated Phil Hellmuth's 25th anniversary of his main event championship. Coincidentally, this is the 10th anniversary, Antonio, of your first World Series bracelet. Do you remember who was at that final table?
Phil Hellmuth.
Yes, sir.
That was 10 years ago?
10 years ago, that's your first bracelet. And was it extra special to have someone like Hellmuth at that table that you were able to beat? What do you remember from the final table?
I don't know if special is the word, but definitely more enjoyable. Yeah, he was there. Chris Ferguson was at that final table. I remember. I got it in with the worst hand and won. How am I going to forget that?
My favorite level, Norman. The blinds are up to $500,000 and $1 million, and at any point during this level, you can ask me how many big blinds any of the players have, and I will come within 50.
Yeah, you're an 80% favorite to actually get that right.
Yeah. Talking with pocket nines and a raise to $2 million. A min raise will take it. Billy Pappas folded his big blind, and right now it is talking with $26.6 million. as the red oversized chip worth $500,000 is really the target chip to have right now, but others in play. The $250,000 chip, the beige one, the lavender $100K, and the green $25K still on the table here. And there you see the oversized red chip, a unique chip that was introduced at the World Series of Poker a few years ago. And that oversized red one, just a nice unique look to it. And also you're not going to reach down and mistakenly put those into play if you know that they feel a little different than the other ones. Van Hoof with a raise to $2 million with ace-4, and all in once again. Martin Jacobson with his short stack of $16 million plus.
We have no numbers on this, but I believe Jacobson's got to be approaching some main event final table record for all-ins.
Uncontested all-ins.
Yeah.
I mean, this play has worked so many times tonight. He's been pretty fortunate that no one has woken up with a big hand when he's done this.
Van Hoof folded an ace there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got ace-4. He could be in a really bad spot. Even against a hand like king-queen, he's not an overwhelming favorite. He doesn't really want to double up Jacobson. By the way, it's important to note that it's $2,250,000 every 5 hands. So, you know, as aggressive as we saw them play in the last round, it's going to get even more.
So, Antonio, can you compare it for me, the feeling between winning your first bracelet and then winning big one for one drop? Do you remember how you felt?
Yeah, I do remember. Actually, I had just come off a WPT win where I went from 0 net worth to having a decent net worth. I was 25 years old, so I was on cloud 9, and then literally just a few weeks later, I won the bracelet for the pot limit hold'em tournament. So it wasn't that big of a rush, just because I had just come off of this big win. So that original WPT win was huge for me, emotionally and financially, obviously. So, you know, fast forward years later to the one drop, of course, it was the biggest tournament of all time. So that had a lot of, you know, different things going for me. You can't compare the two. How could I ever compare the two? Winning one drop was the creme de la creme, right. Norman Chad. It was.
And you were carried off on your shoulders after winning your first bracelet, were you?
No, not so much.
Did you have shoes on?
I don't know back then. I'm not sure.
Pappas with a raise from the button with Jack-10 of diamonds.
Oh, I forget because I love tearing down Antonio, but besides his 3 bracelets, he does have the 2 World Poker Tour titles.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he was a stud over there on that side of the field.
those aren't easy to get, those WPTs.
Now, especially when you get to that final table, things change a little bit and structures go quicker. And
yeah, it's definitely a lot more action.
Billy Pappas will take that, and he now moves to near $28.5 million. As you see how long we've been going at this final table so far on day 1 of 2 days of play. It might be 2 days in a row of play. We're supposed to take a break at some point, get down to 2 or 3 players and come back in the evening, and we'll be here at 9 p.m. Eastern to crown a champion.
For those of you expecting to see SportsCenter here on ESPN2, SportsCenter will never air again on ESPN2. We are playing poker until the cows come home, and they may not be coming home. They might be out playing bingo or foosball.
You count the live coverage and then the replay coverage right away, and that takes up, you know, the week and a half right there. And they'll be back with NFL coverage at some point, I'm sure, later in the week. Van Hoof, the raise to $3 million with 5 deuce, and there is a very good indication of what Jorrit Van Hoof is up to. Talking folds, a weak ace, and Jorrit once again with that smile we have seen so many times this evening after he's won a pot and stacking the chips. It's fun to stack chips.
It's real fun, especially when your opponents are just folding ace-5 in the big blind to a single raise when you're in the small blind. I mean, I understand just because the pay jump is so big and, you know, the 4 lower stacks are kind of even-tealed. But if you want to win this tournament, you can't just fold ace-5 there.
That's Antonio Esfandiari along with Norman Chad. I'm Lon McCarron. We'll be here until those cows do come home, I guess, bringing you all this action from the 2014 main event final table. November 9ers down to our November 5ers, I guess you want to call it. Stevenson with queen 6 and a raise to $2 million. Van Hoof folds his button, talking in the small blind. Jacobson now.
King 8-7 flop. Yep.
Queen 6 of clubs was good enough for Stevenson to make the raise, and everyone else folds. And so Stevenson, fresh off a double up, but still down in the dregs. 4th place, 20 million. Only 20 million. Van Hoof now with almost 107 million chips. We've been mentioning over half the chips in play, trying to become the first world champion from the Netherlands. And it's a poker-friendly spot over there, but I assume any one of the guys winning here is going to light a fuse on any poker boom.
We've seen it happen before in Australia with Joe Hashem. And so we'll see a poker boom in the Netherlands, Norway, if either one can win.
Mike Matusow back tweeting after some surgery that had him laid up for a while. Glad he's doing better. Amazing how great Van Hoof has played. Norm MacDonald says if Van Hoof ends up losing this, it would be one of the biggest meltdowns ever. And then somehow there was some symmetry, seeing a Mike Matusow tweet right after that.
That was your best one tonight, Lon.
All in from Jacobson for $18.5 million, and they'll send the chips that were in the middle pre-flop over to that man from Sweden. Pappas folded his 8-deuce, and rightly so. So continuing 5-handed, we'll keep updating those chip counts, and you see Jacobson moves ahead of Stevenson now into 4th place, and those other 4 trying to collect enough chips to challenge Van Hoof. Van Hoof not getting himself into bad positions.
So I just mentioned how, of course, we might see a poker boom in Norway. It's, as I mentioned earlier, it's already booming in Norway. So again, 1,200 people played in their main event this year in a nation of only 5 million. 1 out of every 4,000
right.
persons in the nation was playing their main event, which was played outside of Norway.
So I know it can get awfully dry in Ireland, where they manage to keep themselves lubricated in Ireland during their championship.
One of the players pointed out to me, I got the opportunity to go to the Norway Poker Championships in Dublin, and one of the players pointed out to me that the amount of beer spilt on the floor at the Norwegian Championships would be greater than all the beer drank during the World Series in Las Vegas. And they weren't much off. But, you know, it was eye-opening to me, Lon. They had a better attitude. It was much better to play and watch poker over there than the United States. It wasn't that strange, stressed tournament atmosphere. They were joyful to be at the table. They got along with everybody. I saw one player call the floor on himself. The floor person came over. He explained the mistake he made very accurately, and then he got the penalty. I mean, it's just a better atmosphere all around. The U.S. players could learn from the great, joyful way the Norwegian players play their tournaments.
Billy Pappas on the button. Been folded to the foosball champ.
2.25.
He's going to raise it up to $2.25 million with King 10 of diamonds.
And Billy would fit right in over in Norway because he plays this game with an incredible, joyful attitude.
Absolutely.
I'm all in.
You heard him. Felix Stevenson shoving for almost $21 million. Pappas has him covered by about $7.5 million.
It feels like Van Hoof has woken up with a hand. I mean, I don't think he's just wasting time here for no reason. Usually Monksman doesn't have it, so I think he has a hand. Probably has a big ace or a big pair.
Stevenson with bigger suited cards and the same suit as Pappas.
It must be a pretty good hand for Van Hoof indeed, Antonio, because he's staring at a raise and then a 3-bet all in front of him.
Yeah, I feel like he woke up with jacks here.
It's 20. 27, 28. Even.
Maybe ace queen.
So the chip leader getting very serious about
20 million. 20.8.
action that is already quite serious.
20.8.
And
Also
all
all
in.
in.
Pappas folds immediately. Stevenson at risk.
These are your chips. Okay.
Ace-8 for Stevenson. And it looks like queens maybe for Yoret. I know it is jacks. Nice call, Antonio. The first time you've had to do that tonight, and you hit it on the button.
He's been running so good at this final table.
Felix has got the good vibes of Scott Seaver on his side. That counts for something.
And look at that. Stevenson all in with a smile on his face.
Don't smile too hard. The flop isn't out yet. All Stevenson needs is one ace.
Well, Yoret has one of the diamonds at least, maybe if that's any consolation. But Yoret, the chip leader, trying to get that much stronger. He's ahead with his jacks.
This is a big pot. If Van Hoof can hold up here, he is smooth sailing.
And there's an ace for Stevenson. Wow. The magic of Scott Seaver maybe rubbing off in a great way. Van Hoof down to 2 outs.
Wow, what a massive shift that pot is.
So one of the lesser stacks looking to break out. 10 of spades. The outs remain the same for the chip leader.
Three diamonds will do.
Stevenson's rail has decided the 3 of diamonds is the card they want to see.
Only a jack knocks out Felix Stevenson.
The river card, the 7 of spades, and that will work for Stevenson as he doubles through the chip leader up to over $44.5 million.
He does that one more time, he'll be the chip leader.
That's bad for our sleep schedule, boys.
The first real bump in the road in what has been so far a golden road in front of Van Hoof towards the World Championship bracelet. Stevenson doubles through Van Hoof. Van Hoof down to $85.6 million. Still the chip leader with a very good margin.
By the way, you have to give some credit to Van Hoof. He just took that like a champ. He smiled the whole way through. Never even remotely got upset.
Scott Seaver, I think, loved that ace more than Stevenson.
Felix doubles up and gets a chest massage.
Right. And now a video training session. So Van Hoof going back to work still as the definitive chip leader, but it now is Norwegian Felix Stevenson putting some heat perhaps on him. And once again, the other guys miss a chance to move up the pay ladder. The next payout is over $2.1 million. And there you see our remaining 5 as Felix Stevenson has now separated himself from Pappas, Tonking, and Jacobson.
And
I should have known.
We did. We got him. He's got change already.
Damn.
We'll double check it for you, Jack.
Yeah, that would be really sick. It is sick already.
These two guys who play online against each other a lot, mostly in Pot Limit Omaha, and now jousting on the biggest no-limit hold'em field there is in the world.
This was the only World Series event Felix Stevenson played this year. And for Billy Pappas, this was the only World Series event he played this year. They're now 2nd and 3rd in chips with 5 remaining in the main event.
Stevenson says he's pretty much a newbie to tournament no-limit hold'em. And he says he might be the most surprised person that he is in this position. in a no-limit event. Stevenson with the raise from the button, and he will take it, and he's stacking more new chips, and success breeds success, and confidence such a big part of no-limit hold'em, and certainly even more so when you're short-handed, Antonio, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And remember, Felix created this double-up opportunity by, in the last levels, you may recall, he had pocket fives, he raised, Jacobson re-raised all in with pocket sixes. Felix could have called there, and it would have been for almost his entire stack, and he laid down the pocket fives. Otherwise, he would have been almost out then. Hung around, and now he's got 46 million chips.
Nice little rush he's been on the last 3 hands, collecting almost 27 million new chips. And he and Van Hoff will sit this one out. Tonking in the small blind, Jacobson in the big, and Jacobson will get a walk. So
I think Tonking is playing a little too conservative. I mean, Jacobson is a short stack. He's in the big blind. You know, Queen 7 isn't a great hand, but you got to put some pressure on your opponent there.
Jacobson takes that walk, but he's still the short stack with almost 21 million. And our final 5 getting very familiar to the crowd here. Billy Pappas right now in 3rd place with 25.7 million chips. Felix Stevenson now definitively in 2nd place with 46.5 million. Van Hoff still is our chip leader, though, 84.8. William Tonking, as you mentioned, maybe playing a little snug right now. 23.3 is in 4th place. And then Jacobson, the short stack, with 20.9 million.
I mean, the Queen 7 isn't a definite raise. I mean, Tonking only has a couple million more chips than Jacobson, so I understand the pay jump and, you know, all that moving forward.
We have a raise, 2.3.
I can see why you folded. I just like the raise, Norman. It's a lot more fun than folding.
You like to see flops and you like to raise.
Yeah, I like to raise. It's more fun.
And he likes to stack chips, apparently. So the dynamics of a table like you had at the 1-drop and your 2nd time around, as you almost made the final table the 2nd time in the big one for 1-drop. I mean, was having been there before and running as deep as you could the first time beneficial to you the 2nd time?
It actually, it should have been, but it actually ended up not being. I think that I let probably a little ego get in the way, and I made a couple of bad plays, and I wanted to win every pot, and that probably had to do with me winning, you know, just a couple of years before. And you know, I wish every single day that I could go back to that moment and play a lot more careful than I did. I was really going for the win with 10 people left instead of making sure I got to the final table and at least got some money back. But all I cared about was winning, and I made a couple bad plays.
So you actually ignore. I mean, Greg Raymer has this very simple piece of advice that you ignore at that time. Just simply play each hand the best that you can play it. Make the best decision you can in each hand, and other things were like running through your mind.
Look at this. Van Hoff with an opening raise with ace-10. Jacobson with 2 red aces. Comes over the top all in.
So, I mean, this is really interesting. This is such a massive raise with 2 aces. Jacobson is really trying to make Van Hoff think that he has maybe a small pocket pair or not as strong as he has. You know, I don't think I would have done that. But if you think that your opponent is strong, I like to play. So if he's there and he gets a read off Van Hoff, then I like it.
It was partly correct. I mean, maybe Van Hoff wasn't as strong as he thought he was, but Van Hoff had a better hand than we've seen him raise with.
Right, but he's never going to call with ace-10 there. But obviously, Jacobson doesn't know he has ace-10. If he has ace-king or ace-queen, he might call. But against a player like Van Hoff on the button, I love to flat that and just let him fire his way through. But you risk losing, you know, your whole stack. So it's pretty close.
Stevenson in the small blind. Van Hoof in the big. Stevenson just calls with Queen Jack of diamonds for $500,000. Big blind is $1 million. Van Hoof can play the hand for free, and he will. With his big blind money already in the pot. Jack 8 against Queen Jack.
Bingo.
There you go. There's the Broadway for Stevenson. Pretty good flop. You double up through the chip leader. You get him to commit some chips here, and you're rolling. But he cannot get Van Hoof to bite. You know, all of these guys have to have dreamed at one point or another of being the world champion. Here's Felix Stevenson's take on that topic.
Becoming the world champion or whatever, that's unbelievable. I mean, or being like having such a good shot at becoming the world champion, that's just amazing. And so that would be awesome. And I'm going to try to capitalize on this moment and try to make the most of it, because it's, for most of us, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
And still very possible for any one of the 5 players remaining here.
Now, Stevenson, not long ago, was a short stack with, what, like 13 million left? Now he's sitting in very good position as the second biggest stack.
Stevenson on the button. He raised it up to 2.1 million with 8-6 suited, and nobody wants to play with him, and he will stack the chips. And so suddenly Stevenson is the man of the hour here. He is the one on the rush. He is the one commanding the play, and he's the one that everyone is shying away from at this point.
And it's been a steady decline for former chip leader Will Tonking, who's now the short stack, and he's about to go under 20 big blinds. And we mentioned earlier in the telecast, he was under 20 big blinds every day of the 7 days of the main event, and he's about to make it under 20 big blinds on an 8th day.
I think he's played a little too snug in the last few rounds. We saw him open up just a little bit, but then he went back to snug mode. And you can't play too snug 5-handed when every round is 2,250,000 chips.
Ace-5 suited for Pappas under the gun, a race 2.2 million. Jacobson in the big blind folds, and so Pappas will take it with the raise. And give some props to the crowd here, and supporters for each of the players. They're hanging in here even after 10 hours of play inside the Penn and Teller Theater. And that's one thing, when you commit yourself to come out and watch your buddy play poker, and you haven't watched them before, and you don't know that they play 10, 12, 15 hours. It's quite a commitment, and it's eye-opening, or, well, eye-shutting for a lot of people this late at night.
It's a long way to come. It's a long time to stay, and as a spectator sport live, it's kind of tough. You can't see a whole lot. You can see the community cards come out on the big screens, but you don't know what the players have.
Van Hoof makes it 2 million with 8-7 of clubs. Tonking on the button.
He looks like he's getting involved in this one.
Short stack Tonking on the button.
Yeah, he usually folds pretty quick when he folds.
No fold. That's full commitment from Will Tonking. 20 million. Ace King. Little delay in folding his 8-7 suited, and Tonking picks a nice spot to find Ace King and shove, and he picks up 4 million new chips there.
And well, look at that. Pappas, Jacobson, and Tonking, all 3 of them have 24 million in chips.
And Lon, 24 million in chips is how many big blinds?
24 big blinds right now. Thank you.
Very nice.
Don't ask me to add them up.
The next pay jump is about 700,000, and after that it's $1 million.
It's 2.1 million payout for 5th place, and that's what the loser of the next all-in will receive. 2.1 million. Jacobson getting some food.
Gotta eat.
In for the long haul. Yeah, you've been through a couple of meals here so far with the 10 hours of play. It's very important. And Jacobson moves all in for over 24 million. Pocket fives. And Billy Pappas is not folded yet.
He looks very interested. Oh. Make sure they're still there.
That second peek usually means
they're still there.
Treat. And Billy is all in with ace jack. Pappas with the slightly bigger stack, but only by 50,000 chips.
Wow, what a flip. This is a massive flip.
This is a double up for either player. Ace jack for Pappas, pocket fives for Jacobson, who is the one at risk, but all but 2 green chips at risk for Billy Pappas. So Jacobson, who's gotten it in good, he's gotten everyone to fold to most of his all-ins, and now he has to try to dodge trouble here.
The winner of this flip becomes second in chips. The loser of this flip is essentially gone. Jacobson will be gone. Pappas would have 50,000 chips left. It's not even enough for an ante.
It's Pappas who has to improve here to knock out Jacobson. But you see, it is a coin flip.
What's that? You can't do it after?
Look at Billy. So relaxed. Whatever happens, happens. If I lose this hand, I get... Oh, there's a 5 for Jacobson.
Keep it clean.
My goodness.
Now Pappas would have to hit a runner.
Number 2.
Billy Pappas needs to hit something now to keep this hand alive. And that will do it. Martin Jacobson doubles up, and he is now in second place. Billy Pappas still has a seat, but only with 50,000 chips.
Well, we are in a chip in a chair situation for Billy right now.
He can't afford anything. The ante, the small blind. And you see the faces on the Billy Pappas supporters. That was monstrous.
Well, the amateur's improbable dream all but over now. And the man you got to fear with chips.
Yep, and that's going to happen. He was relaxed at his seat. And yeah, mid-swallow, he saw the 5 hit. It pretty much secured his double up through Billy Pappas, who's left with 50,000 chips. And Billy, at some point, I'm sure he's thinking, I lose and I only get 2.1 million. But you hate to lose. You know, they're competitors. They're fiery competitors no matter what arena they're in, the foosball arena, the poker arena. They want to win, and that's all that Billy Pappas has left. And this man suddenly becomes the poker player that he wanted to become at this final table. Second in chips with over 50 million. Jorrit van Hoef, who once had 111 million, now down to 78 million.
And you alluded to it before, Antonio, and no offense to Billy Pappas, but Van Hoef certainly would have preferred if Pappas won that flip to Jacobson. He hates to see Jacobson with 50 million chips.
Yeah, I think everybody at the table wanted Pappas to win that pot. You know, think about Van Hoef. He had all the chips, and all of a sudden...
Yes.
Oh, they got a burger. Yes. Score. $600,000 burger.
Okay.
Thank you.
You did say go, yeah?
Billy Pappas all in with just 50,000 in chips. I hope he doesn't look at his hand.
Yeah, I know. Is that right?
He's got 50.
He's got 50.
That's it. That's why. Right. Everything is correct.
Jacobson just doubled up to over 50 million.
650 total.
And he has red chips.
2.25.
We have a raise to 2.25.
Raise to $2.25 million from Jacobson. So Billy's all in already. So around to Stevenson in the small blind. And we are working on getting the cards of Jacobson as soon as we can. And we are reliant on the players showing them properly into the card reader. So bear with us.
Well, Billy Pappas has got to sit and wait. Does not like to see resistance from Felix Stevenson on the raise from Jacobson.
And so now Jacobson and Stevenson nearly even. Stevenson with 47.5 million, Jacobson with 50.5 million.
5.5.
And there is a re-raise to 5.5 million from Stevenson, and Von Hoof now with the biggest stack. Tonking is already folded, or else maybe we could end this thing right here.
Well, apparently there's 3 big hands.
You're right.
And Billy Pappas is probably sitting with 7 deuce.
Yeah. Or with 50,000, he's sitting with aces. Maybe more cruel.
I don't know. Stevenson felt a little light to me. It just didn't come across as very strong the way he raised. Maybe Von Hoof picked up on that as well. Maybe I have no clue what I'm talking about. And he's got aces, but it just looked a little funny.
Now you see Jacobson's raise with King 9. Pappas, we haven't seen the card yet, which is fine with me. I like the blind all in once in a while. And we're still trying to get a read on Stevenson's cards. Stevenson re-raised to 5.5 million, according to the dealer.
Boy, this is a big pot if Von Hoof enters it.
Look at Pappas, all in blind with 7s.
Wow, what a great spot to be in.
The main pot right there you see is just what they call the main pot that Pappas can win. And then there'll be a side pot for the chips that Jacobson put in. The re-raise from Stevenson. And 12 million from Von Hoof. And he with jacks. So Jacobson got out of the way with the 4s and relinquishes $2.25 million.
Jacobson had the King 9. Stevenson has the 4s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I apologize.
I mean, it's hard to get a pair 5-handed. It really is.
Yeah, tell that to the graphic guy who's putting in Jack, 4, 4, 7.
3 hands, 3 pairs.
But the more pairs that show up, it increases the chances that other players have pairs.
Wait a minute.
It's a mathematical.
It's too late for me to figure that out. And there is the fold. And so now it's jacks against 7s. Too bad for Billy that Von Hoof woke up. And the 2.5 million or so from Jacobson, the 5.5 million from Stevenson, all go to Von Hoof, who turns over jacks. The other guys say, woo!
And Billy now trying to quintuple up to half a big blind.
So Von Hoof has already been responsible for the last 2 knockouts of Sindelar and Larabe, trying to go for the hat trick and get 3 in a row.
Pretty good tonight.
No 7 in there. And Von Hoof will have no joy in knocking out the gregarious and fun-loving Billy Pappas.
No runner possibilities for Billy. He's just going to need a 7 on the turn of the river.
Another queen. And so one card to come. Billy Pappas looking to extend his run just a tiny bit longer, needing the 7, but expecting nothing. The river card, the 6 of clubs, and that is going to do it. Foosball world champion, the unlikely amateur Billy Pappas, knocked off of this main event, earning over $2.1 million.
Yeah, what a wonderful and wondrous run for the amateur from Lowell, Massachusetts.
5th place from a field of 6,683. And a very appreciative crowd understand what this amateur has done, and he bids his farewell.
$2 million plus. That's what, more than 8 million quarters?
That's a lot of foosball games. Congratulations, Billy Pappas. You showed everybody, including the amateurs out there, what is possible. And he was sorry to see what was the best hand at one point get knocked down to 2 chips. Von Hope does the deed. We are 4-handed. Back to Vegas in a moment. We welcome you back to the 2014 World Series of Poker main event final table telecast presented by Gentleman Jack at the Rio inside the Penn and Teller Theater. We are now 4-handed. We lost the amateur Billy Pappas, the foosball champion. He goes out in 5th place, and right now he is down with Kara Scott.
Out in 5th place, it's William Papaconstantino, otherwise known as Billy Pappas. Thought we'd get your full name in there for once. Now, this was the first tournament you played over a $500 buy-in. So talk to us about what this achievement means to you.
It means a lot. You know, like I said before, I've been dreaming about this since 2005. So, yeah, it's a pretty awesome accomplishment.
You already have world championships as well. You have hundreds of titles under your belt in foosball. So how does this kind of rank, this sort of final table?
Well, this is, you know, like life-changing money. So foosball is just like for prestige, and this is for prestige as well. But yeah, a couple more spots would have been nice.
Of course. But what does it say that, you know, technically an amateur player can come and do so well at the main event?
Yeah, it's good for the sport, or the game, excuse me. But that's why poker is so popular, right? Anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. You've had a great crowd here behind you. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
How fun it has been to get to know Billy Pappas and learn more about foosball, most importantly.
And one of Billy's mantras had been, if I can do it, anyone can do it. He showed us he could do it. 5th place out of 6,600 plus, $2 million payday.
Back to his old ways, a raise $2.5 million, and he will take it.
Whatever you trust. Take it.
And so over $88 million is the Dutch pro, looking to try to make his way to day 2 of this final table. 4-handed, you're on the button 25% of the time. The blinds seem to come around like zip, zip, zip all the time. Gets
very
expensive.
Zip, zip, zip. It's $2,100,000 every 4 hands now.
4th place worth $2.8 million. 3rd place worth $3.8 million. Hence that $1 million pay bump in between those places. And so you're guaranteed here, everyone, $2.8 million, but $3.8 million sounds so much better. Stevenson raises under the gun, $2.1 million.
All in.
And talking the short stack, says, here we go, $22.5 million with ace 10.
There you go, Tonkin, get it in there.
Yep, and Stevenson will get rid of his queen 7 of spades.
I ran into one of Tonking's New Jersey buddies during the main event, Mike Coleman. Tonking at an earlier World Series event, 1,500K, finished 77th. Mike Coleman finished 10th. With 36 players left in this main event, his buddy Mike was so confident that Will would make the final table, he bet me $10 that he would make the final table. Straight up. I mean, I should have had to give him like 3-to-1, 4-to-1 odds. A confident friend. I had to pay off a $10 bet.
Oh, my goodness.
I was happy to do it.
You see, we've been playing for 10 hours and 22 minutes, and all these guys have been in similar positions, long sessions before. And you see the order of knockouts. That's not an instant replay from last year with Newhouse at 9th, even though it was. It happened again this year, unfortunately. Jacobson in the small blind.
2.8.
It's been folded to him. Raised to almost 3x, 3 times the big blind. Big blind 1 million right now. So 7-5 of diamonds, good enough for Jacobson. Stevenson in the big blind gets a little bit of a discount with $1 million already in, and with 9-8, he will see a flop.
Jacobson does not like getting called here. He's out of position. Uh-oh. And this flop just nailed both of them.
It sure did.
I mean, they both absolutely love it. Stevenson has top pair, top straight draw.
Both
Jacobson
open-ended, yeah.
has second pair, also open-ended straight draw. I mean, we should see some fireworks here.
Stevenson with the bigger cards has the bigger draw. He has the bigger pair.
But yeah, you know, Jacobson's not really going to get out of line here. He doesn't want to play a massive pot. He's got the second chip lead. The pay jumps are so massive. For sure he's going to check call at a minimum. I don't think he's going to raise. It doesn't really make too much sense to me. He's for sure going to call.
Everything you said was correct. Turn card.
Hello.
King of diamonds.
Now he picks up a flush draw.
Jacobson does.
He's got a pair, a straight draw, and a flush draw. But not the best hand.
So he does check.
So I mean, I actually think this is a good spot to bet. If I'm Stevenson, I still have top, second pair. I still have a straight draw. I like betting a little bit here, just in case I get there. I can win a bigger pot on the river. I also put my opponent to the test. If he doesn't hit a king, I probably still have the best hand. It's unlikely I get check raised on that flop, given that I got check called on the flop.
Pair of 8s is best for Stevenson. And now Jacobson wondering if you should turn his hand into, well, he's got a pair of 7s, but I don't know how confident he is that it's the best.
Yeah, so basically this hand is over.
He does check.
Stevenson will probably check back an 8. He has showdown value. And even if he bets, he's probably just going to win the pot anyway.
Wow, looks like he wants to move a lot of real estate here.
I don't love this bet. Just because he checked back the turn, it's really, really suspicious.
That's 4.5.
Under half the pot, but a significant amount.
I don't know what he puts Jacobson on. I don't know what he's trying to get him off of. He checked when the king popped out, and all of a sudden he's betting on the river. I actually don't know what's going through Stevenson's head. I don't know if he thinks that, he has the best hand. I don't know if he's trying to value bet, which I don't think. It's pretty thin. I think in his mind he's trying to bluff. He's trying to get Jacobson off a better hand. But there really aren't that many better hands that Jacobson could have in this particular situation. Maybe a queen, but that's pretty unlikely.
Jacobson does fold the second best hand there. But as you mentioned, it was perplexing. And Stevenson now 45 million into second place. Been a long evening, but a very active evening at time. Mark Newhouse made a huge river bluff that was picked off by Will Tonking. And Newhouse was the 9th place finisher. Politano got it in with Queen 10. Stevenson with pocket 7s did him in. And then Sindelar with Jack. He was called by the ace tray of hearts from Von Hope. And Von Hope ran him down. Sindelar out in 7th. Andoni Larave all in with Jack 10. Von Hof with King 5 of hearts, and he got Larave. And then it was Pappas. His final hand was pocket sevens against the pocket jacks of Von Hof, and he was gone in 5th place. But Pappas was really done in when he matched up against the almost even stack of Jacobson, doubling up Jacobson. Ace, King, Queen, as these two see a hand for the minimum. Von Hof, of course, hits the flop with the King. And we got a Broadway draw for Stevenson. And the percentages are off just because we can't see Von Hof's other card. There is the tray.
And it's important to note this was a small blind, big blind kind of scenario. It was a limp pot by Stevenson, checked back by Von Hof, and now he's flopped second pair. He's always going to call in position.
Queen tears the board. It doesn't help Stevenson.
It's pretty hard to second barrel this when your opponent calls you on the flop. I mean, all you really have is a gut shot. You could be drawing dead, although it's unlikely because Von Hof checked in the big blind pre-flop. He probably doesn't have a hand that really connected with that board.
Saw Stevenson knuckle the felt in the reflection of his sunglasses, and so now back to Von Hof.
Checks.
And he checks as well. River card, 9 of diamonds, 3rd diamond out there. Neither of our players holds a diamond. Von Hof with the kings and queens is best.
Checks.
There's not a lot of value in betting a king here just because you're not really getting called by anything worse. And so checks. You just want to kind of check back and win what's out there.
Have a 10.
I have a king. And the king will take it. So Von Hof again with that familiar smile every time he stacks chips. Gets a little stronger as he goes back over 90 million, rebuilding his monster chip castle. Much easier to rebuild it now with the blinds as big as they are. Said Potlam in Omaha has reinvigorated his love and excitement for poker, and that's helped him here in this tournament.
Yeah, both him and Stevenson say quite simply it's just more fun to play than No Limit Hold'em.
It makes sense. They you know, 4 cards versus 2. I mean, do the math.
Von Hof just calls now with Queen 8. Talking says, let's go for it all here. If you're going to show weakness, I'm going to show strength. Talking with the trays gets Von Hof to fold. Talking looking to make something happen. Von Hof with 89 million, Stevenson 42 million, Jacobson 41 million, Talking with 27 million. A year ago when we were four-handed, Jay Farber held the chip lead. A lot of people thought he was the one to beat, and well, when it got down to he and Ryan Reese, that's what Ryan Reese thought too, and indeed it was Ryan Reese outplaying Farber heads up and winning the World Championship, and that's why Ryan was on hand tonight to give the shuffle up and deal prior to our play. And Jacobson will win that pot in a walk.
Jacobson last year made the final table with the one-drop high rollers as a $111,000 buy-in. A star-studded final table. Tony Gregg won it. Chris Klodnicki was there. Nick Schulman, Olivier Bousquet, high-stakes amateur savants Bill Perkins, and Brandon Steven, and Antonio Esfandiari. You finished 4th there. Martin Jacobson finished 6th.
I did. I remember that final table.
2.2.
You have the magic touch when it comes to one drop.
Almost had the magic touch when it comes to one drop.
Yeah. No, you can never say that again. You had the magic touch.
I did. I just really wanted to go back to back.
Well, sure. Von Hof under the gun raises to 2.2 million with 7-6. And nobody Lewis wants to play as usual. And Von Hof, when he's determined to rebuild his stack, he knows how to do it. He has taken some big swipes at players, and of course, as we have seen recently, has failed. But look, back to 91 million again. And always laughing every time he wins a pot. I mean, I love to see that.
Even when he lost the pot, he was smiling. I mean, you got to give the guy credit. Took it like a champ.
Yeah, somewhere in his mental game approach, no tilt has entered, and we have seen no tilt tonight.
Yeah, I don't think that guy ever tilts.
Why would you with that hair?
Absolutely.
Just get the counts real quick again. Like, how much does
Stevenson limps. Von Hof checks his option. Von Hof again, as he has to do, catches a piece of the flop. Stevenson's action as the small blind in this blind versus blind mini battle.
That's 1.4 million.
$1.4 million from the Norwegian.
We're always going to see a call here. He flat bottom pair, which a lot of times is good. He's got position, and also he could catch a king or a 3 on the turn if he happens to be behind.
And there is the king.
Bingo.
King of diamonds, those 3 diamonds on board. Stevenson has the ace of diamonds.
That's actually a pretty good action card. Stevenson might continue, given that he's got the nut flush draw. He doesn't really want to just check call out of position. And Von Hof can't really raise, given that there's a flush out there. So I think what we'll see is a bet call situation. Unless Stevenson makes a really weak bet and Von Hof picks up on something, he might raise it, but I think it's unlikely. I think it's much more likely to just call and maybe, you know, allow his opponent to continue bluffing if he happens to be bluffing. He's also slightly worried about the flush.
So 2.9 million from Stevenson.
So we'll see a call here.
Von Hof looking at the chip stacks. Stevenson starting the hand with 41.3 million. Kings up for the chip leader. He says call. You see the pot built to 11.2 million. 9 of spades completes the board.
Now there's 11 million chips just sitting out there. Stevenson can't win if he checks it. He might fire again here. It's really his only chance of winning this pot. He's not going to be happy.
Yeah, he can't win it if he checks, and we know he certainly almost cannot win if he bets.
Tough spot to be in.
Very tough spot to be in. And not so good.
Is that 4 million?
That's 5.75.
5.75 million. It's about half the pot, right? A little more than half the pot.
Yeah, and Von Hof is never ever raising here. There's just really no reason to ever pop it here. You're only going to get called by a better hand. And so he's really just thinking about calling or folding, and I don't really see him folding. I mean, he's got a pretty big hand. Blind versus blind. The only thing he's worried about is a flush.
And Stevenson bet the king of diamonds.
I mean, he led the flop, he bet the turn, and he's firing the river. He's been called twice. He'll find a call.
He calls and loses, he's still the chip leader.
If he calls and wins.
Well, that's the thing, right? And if a call, we know he wins the pot.
I mean, look, he has to call 5.75 to win almost 17 million.
And there is the call. And kings up. We'll take it. And Stevenson doesn't want to show because he's got nothing. And kings and trays for Von Hof. Vault him over 100 million once again.
Well, He briefly took a licking, kept on ticking. He's back to over half the chips again.
The clinic is back on.
That's a great sign, you know, to come down from where he was off that big perch and to build it back in relatively, you know, short amount of time. Very impressive indeed.
You know, maybe he didn't forget to play the first level of main event. He just wanted to make the stylish late entrance a la the Poker Brat.
There you go. There you go.